mic on. We are live streaming, and I'd like to welcome everybody to this meeting of the Finance and Assets Committee of East Cambridgeshire District Council, especially to those members of the public and press who are watching online. If the live stream does go down, we will pause the meeting to try and see if we can recover it, and obviously if we can't, we will carry on, but hopefully that won't happen. Item 1 is public question time.
Thank you, Chair. No public questions received.
Okay, thank you. Item 2 is apologies and substitutions, and I know we've got a few this afternoon.
We have. Apologies have been received from Councillor Lee Denny, who is being substituted by Councillor Julia Huffer, from Catherine Holtzman, substituted by Councillor Christine Colbert, from Councillor Mary Wade, substituted by Councillor John Trapp, and from Mark Goldsack, who's substituted by Martin Goodall. Alison Whelan will be arriving late as she's chairing a meeting at County.
Okay, thank you, Jane. Members, declarations of interest. Is there anything on the agenda? No. If you do become aware during the meeting of a possible interest, then obviously please declare it at that time. Thank you. Item 4 is the minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of March 2026. Is everybody happy that those were a correct record? I'm seeing no dissent, so I'm accepting that those are agreed. Item 5, Chair's announcements. I've only got 2. One is, obviously, we've got Nigel Ankers is with us for the exempt side on the ECTC management accounts. And the other one is just to thank Councillor Ian Bovingdon was Vice Chair of this committee for a number of years. He's no longer on the committee, and I would just like to publicly thank Ian for his work and efforts on the committee over the number of years. Thank you. So moving on then, item 6 is the climate and nature strategy, and I've got Richard Kay who's going to present the paper.
Thank you, Chair. I think you all know me, but just to remind you, I'm Richard Kay, Climate Change and Natural Environment Manager, and I'm here today for the 6th year running now it is, to give you my annual update on all things climate and natural environment related in East Cambridgeshire. And it's perhaps somewhat poignant, I'm here to talk about climate change on the very day the UK has broken its all-time June record for the 2nd day running. And just last month, I'm sure you'll remember, we also broke the all-time record temperature for May. In May, it was by a massive 2.5 degrees jump. So that's like Usain Bolt running the 100 metres in under 9 seconds rather than just knocking off a fraction of a second or two. Today, the last time I looked, which was about an hour ago, the temperature reached 36.4 degrees in the UK. Before the 1990s, we'd never hit that temperature in the UK in any month of the year. We've now hit it twice in a week, and we've barely passed summer solstice, with the summer barely begun. So one hopes that there remains no doubt as that climate change is here, it's accelerating, and the risks are increasing. And those risks are increasingly coming out to places like East Cambridgeshire as well, including the farming economy, which obviously is so important to us. I did want to give you a brief quote as part of my final context here, is that the UK Climate Commission reported last month, and they stated as follows, and this quote was clearly endorsed by the National Farmers Union. They said, the UK farmers are already being impacted by the effects of extreme weather, including flooding, heat and drought. Challenging weather conditions for farming are often occurring in consecutive seasons and at unprecedented severity. By 2050, under 2 degrees C of global warming, the amount of high-quality farmland is predicted to drop from an average of 40% of land in England and Wales to just over 10%. In the worst years, disruption could make some farms unviable. Farming needs to adapt to remain viable. So I'm obviously not here today to give you a carbon literacy training course, but I think that little bit of context I've given you today about the temperatures and how lots of businesses, including farming, are starting to suffer. But we are obviously here to turn to the paper presented to you, to which I will now do so, which in summary is about what's happened over the last 12 months and what are we planning to do for the coming 12 months. And let's take the positives to start with. I've got 5 I want to particularly highlight. First, and as I did report to this committee in November, our Scope 1 emissions, that's the burning of fuel that we do, is significantly down on previous years. And our Scope 2 emissions, that's our emissions from electricity, are down on a long-term trend, albeit they did slightly increase last year, which is not surprising because we're actually encouraging more electricity use rather than burning fossil fuels. Our reporting of Scope 3 emissions, so there's the 3 types of emissions that we report, 1, 2 and 3. Scope 3 emissions, that's the indirect emissions from the things we buy, have been fundamentally made far more transparent in this past year, which is a really positive thing to do, albeit what it does demonstrate is that the emissions arising from the things we buy are very significant and do outstrip quite considerably our Scope 1 and 2 emissions. So I can't emphasise enough that if we really genuinely want to reduce our emissions, we do have to look at and focus on the things we buy and how we buy and where we're buying them from in order to really dramatically reduce our overall emissions. The second positive, and returning to that farmer quote, that wasn't just a random quote, I am returning to it now, about how farming needs to adapt to remain viable. I'm really pleased to report the continued growth of habitat banks in our district. We really are genuinely a national leader on this. We now have 3 signed agreements delivering dozens of hectares of nature recovery on farmland, and negotiations are underway for at least 1 more habitat bank in the district. These habitat banks don't just exist by chance, they only exist with our help and only exist with the signing of a legal agreement with us. We have no statutory duty to do them or help, or we could completely ignore them. But my ecologists go well beyond their day job to assist their setup, because habitat banks are absolutely great for nature recovery. They're great for farmer diversification and increased farmer income generation, and they're great for developers across East Cambs because they can buy their biodiversity net gain units locally, helping to speed up their decision making locally, and helping. So habitat banks, they're not just great for nature recovery, they help drive the economy. They're really important. So I'm really pleased how much progress we've made on those in the past year, building on what we did the previous year too. My third positive point, linked to that second one, is I'm really pleased to say biodiversity net gain continues to function really well across the district, and planning applicants are, broadly speaking, starting to get their head around the requirements. It is an intensive process. We're still learning as much as they are, but the broad principles are sound, and I genuinely believe it is starting to deliver genuine results. The fourth success to highlight are the new habitat management plans prepared over the last 12 months for 20 of our own public open spaces. They've been prepared collaboratively between our own ecologists, the Wildlife Trust, and our grounds maintenance teams. They've only just been done over the last winter or so, prepared, and we started to publish them on our website, but they are genuinely starting to bring results. On one site in Fordham this week, I was told, for example, where we changed the cutting programme just slightly, bee orchids have now popped up on that site. We didn't even know bee orchids were on that site at all, but just because we cut the grass in a slightly different way has enabled them to thrive. So that just shows how even small changes with a good management regime in place can deliver really fantastic results. The fifth positive one I want to raise, and final one, is the Pathway to Net Zero report approved by this committee in November. I think that was a really significant milestone. It does set out in detail how we can get to net zero as a council and meet the targets that we've set ourselves. Of course, implementing such a strategy is more important than writing it, so that obviously becomes the challenge for the coming years. But notwithstanding all those positive things, we do have to be honest with ourselves that some of the targets set last year we haven't been as successful with as we would like, especially around some of our climate emissions and water reduction targets. And if I was to sum up broadly speaking about the past year, I think we've made really significant positive progress on a wide range of natural environment initiatives and are genuinely contributing to our vision to bring back nature to East Cambs. But reducing our climate emissions, helping residents reduce their climate emissions, and taking measures to adapt to climate change, such as water issues, does remain really challenging. Which leads me to our proposed actions, which is in your report for the coming year. In summary, for the natural environment, it's basically crack on. Let's really build on the significant progress and success we've made, both directly ourselves on our own land and in supporting landowners, farmers, etc., and through the BNG process, through the planning system. For climate change, it's primarily a set of measures trying to encourage others to do something, whether it's invest in the new plug-in solar panels when they become available, hopefully later this summer, increase our recycling rates with our new waste collection service, or give the public advice at times of ever-increasing energy bills. We do know the public general attitude to doing something about climate change is sadly starting to dwindle, and the public is increasingly holding a view, opinion polls show, that transitioning to net zero will be harmful, not beneficial. So the proposed actions are increasingly about, and are to be communicated as such, as being around resilience and saving money. Asking people to do something in order to help prevent the worst of climate change is, unfortunately in my recent experience, rapidly losing traction. National opinion polls, as I say, are saying the same messages. Unfortunately, phrases like net stupid, I believe, is currently the phrase of choice by some. So I have to adapt to this change in rhetoric and encourage people to do something because it saves them money rather than because it saves emissions. And that seems to be driving more success. I'm not going to go through all of the top 20 actions we're proposing, but I do want to highlight one in particular. It's Action 9, and on paper, you might think it looks a bit dull. It's about training up a member of staff to be a qualified energy assessor. In my view, the more we can get staff members or any other members of society qualified and able to professionally advise businesses, community groups, or whoever, what's the best way to retrofit their homes, to save them money, make their buildings warmer, make the buildings cooler in summer, etc., the better. I think that is a genuinely beneficial thing for society as a whole. And if we can train up one of our members of staff to assist community groups and small businesses do that, I think it's not only good for the climate emissions, we could just refer to it as good for their own businesses, their own cash flow, and their own health and well-being as they use those particular buildings. So I particularly think that's a really valuable, it might seem a small action on paper, but actually it could lead to considerable benefits. So finally, I'm coming to the end, Chair. I think we should all be alarmed by the weather this week. I think it's a taste of what's to come, and personally, I don't like the taste of it. I'm not at all comfortable with this kind of temperatures. But we mustn't give up hope, and we should celebrate some of the successes we've made this year, especially in the natural environment. There genuinely has been some great successes. And whilst we may have to adapt our language in order to fit the public rhetoric of the day, I firmly believe there are lots of opportunities we can all take that will drive benefits for everyone. We really do need to take those opportunities as we can, as many as we can, to help others, whether residents, businesses, community groups or farmers. I therefore might have learnt this year to avoid using the phrase net zero, but equally I'll never use the phrase net stupid. For me, the phrase is now net opportunity. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Richard, for that very detailed and there were some provoking comments within there. Members, any questions? I've got Councillor Akinwale, and then Councillor Miller. Councillor Akinwale.
Thank you, Chair. Given how much BNG is currently taking, do we have enough officer capacity?
I think with climate change and the natural environment, you could give me unlimited officer and I could find them useful things to do. This year, when I came to you this time last year, we only had one ecologist. I'm pleased to report we've got 2 now, so we have increased that capacity, which is great. So it does mean we do have some capacity to go beyond just delivering BNG, but BNG certainly does consume a large quantity of it. But as I say, they have gone above and beyond. They've helped with these management plans. They've helped set up these habitat banks. So they're doing a great job with that resource. But it's not really a question I can answer directly, because if you gave me 3 or 4 ecologists, I could certainly find them things to do.
Thank you. And in regards to your top 20 actions, which are most at risk of delay?
For the current ones coming forward, for the ones proposed?
The ones proposed.
Well, I'd hope none of them are. I've written them in a way which I believe are realistic, and I hope to achieve them all. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put them to you. Some of them are directly the responsibility of my team, so clearly the onus is on me to make sure they're delivered. Some of them do rely on others in the council, which obviously I can encourage and support, and CMT will obviously have to make sure that they keep their eye on those targets as well. But overall, If I didn't think they wouldn't be delivered, I wouldn't have put them in there.
Thank you. Last question. In terms of the actual actions, which of the actions do you feel need more money later in the future? Which of the actions do you feel need more money later in the future?
I think that there's two aspects to that. If you're talking about the natural environment, I don't think that necessarily requires money, or not significant amounts of different money. I think that's often about just changing the way we do things. And the management plans that we've been preparing the last 12 months are exactly about that. So that's not to criticise our open space maintenance teams of the last dozens of years and how they've managed their open spaces. They've done a cracking job, and they've done the best they can, but they haven't necessarily always had the tools in front of them to know what's the best. These management plans now show them what to do without necessarily costing them any more money to do it. It's just do it differently. So from that side of things, it's not about money, it's now about, okay, let's work together as a team and see if we can actually achieve what we can do in these management plans, and let's see what the results are. And, you know, as I say, the bee orchid suddenly popped up in one place where we didn't realise it was going to be. Let's hope that success is across the board. With climate change and reducing our own emissions, for example, that's a tricky one. You could throw unlimited amount of money at that one. For example, you could invest in solar panels, you could invest in all sorts of different things. It then becomes a question of whether it's value for money and whether you think that's good investment, but it's not really for me to comment whether that's the right answer or the wrong answer. That becomes a much wider corporate issue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Akamali. I've got a few speakers. The next one I've got, just to make sure I've captured everything, I've got Councillor Miller next, then Councillor Trapp, Councillor Christine Whelan, Councillor Goodall, and then Councillor Hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Councillor Miller.
Councillor Colbert.
And Councillor Colbert. So Councillor Miller next.
Thank you, Chair. I've got two questions for you. On the solar, on the Arbor Square development, solar being a natural interest of mine, were batteries installed in those homes? And if not, can you comment on what you would need to include battery storage in future developments?
The honest answer is I don't know for sure. I'm not aware they were included. They certainly did a combination of solar, air source heat pumps, and the electric vehicle charging was the priority, and high quality installation. I'm not aware there's battery, but I would have to defer to Palaces Green Homes, who are obviously the builders.
The reason I ask is because Heads and Shoulders, having batteries for self-consumption rather than exporting to the grid, not only does that help support the grid in certain important but technical ways, but it's Heads and Shoulders better return for the new owner, because I haven't looked recently, but I think export tariffs are easily half what import unit costs are, and it's all round just more efficient. So I think solar works well, but for it to work at its best, it really does need battery storage as well. And the second question I had was in respect to, surprise, surprise, plug-in solar. Do you know if there are any registration requirements associated with plug-in solar? And if you do, if you know that there are, I assume that comms have that on hand. And if you don't, can you comment any further? There's some particular reasons why I'm asking.
The answer to that is government hasn't decided yet. I think it was last week, or certainly recently, government issued the draft, I don't think it was regulations, but the terms for any supplier in the UK, because at the minute you can't, your Amazons of this world can't sell you a solar panel that you can just plug in. It would have to require an electrician to do it for you, etc., etc. But they're changing the regulations so that a plug-in, you could go into any shop, buy one, plug it in yourself. You don't need an electrician to do it for you, and the regulations will allow you to do it. Now, what they issued last week was a draft for the suppliers to comment upon about what measures need to be put in place, including what kind of certification will or won't be necessary. So the answer to the question directly is they haven't decided yet for
Nobody
sure.
knows, yeah.
Well, as I read it, it implied that there would be some very simple, a simpler version than what's currently that you do need to follow if you put some on your roof, for example. They're going to try and do a simplified version of that, was their thinking, but they haven't decided for sure yet.
Yeah, a simplified version of G98. I'm surprised to hear you mention suppliers because they've got no business, they don't care. It's no interest of theirs, it's DNOs that care most and need to know. So, thank you.
I think what it was is that the government are going to mandate the leaflet, if you like, that goes inside your box, what that leaflet must say, and part of that will be whether or not you must get it registered or not.
And how, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I've got Councillor Trapp next.
Two questions. One is about the orchard planting. Is that carrying on? I wasn't quite sure from the report.
It's not in the top 20 planned for this year. As the report said, we did a couple of years, must have been 4 or 5 years ago. Last year we just did another one-off. So it's not currently planned. We could look to be doing it in future years, but yeah, as I say, it's not in the current proposals.
But could parish councils apply?
No, because there isn't a scheme open for it as of yet. No.
Okay, thank you. The second question is actually very similar to David, Councillor Miller's. It's about I noticed the achievements of installing solar panels at Arbour Square. I'm not sure why that was mentioned. I mean, there's a lot of other solar panels installed by developers elsewhere. Is it because we funded it, or because why is this?
Yep, it's Palace Green Homes development, so it's our own development. So last year we set ourselves, one of the top 20 targets was to do exactly that, and therefore I'm reporting on whether they did or didn't do it, and the report back is that they
Right.
have. So
But
yeah, I appreciate other developers have done it, but we set ourselves our own target in-house to do that. Well, Palace Green Homes set the target.
But we did not fund it.
No, it's part of Palace Green Homes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Part of their planning permission and consent, and they're delivering what they want to do on that site. No, I didn't fund it, this council didn't fund it, it was a Palace Green Homes fund.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councillor Christine Whelan next.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the actions that have been missed, will they be still worked on and ongoing, or will they be abandoned and new targets considered?
The intention is they will continue. Some of them are in mid-flow. We just haven't quite got them over the line yet, so clearly we'll carry on with those, and they certainly won't be abandoned. The other ones we certainly will attempt to do. Some of them have proved difficult, for example, the ones on our public toilets have proved challenging to change some of the water flows, for example, because what we found was it could mess up the blockages. If you don't put enough water through the system, it actually causes blockage further down the line, for example. So some of them were like, oh, frustrating, because you could do something, but actually it will cause a knock-on problem somewhere else. So to answer your question, wherever possible, we will aim to do them, but sometimes, for practical reasons, we just can't.
And sort of regarding KPIs and how we're going to measure what's being achieved and what's not going to be achieved?
Well, in terms of our emissions, we obviously every year we report and publish a very detailed set of statistics on what emissions have we done over the past 12 months and where have they arisen from. So we'll be doing that again this year. We've done that for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years now. So that's all available on our website as well. The other ones, of all the other actions, clearly I'll be here this time next year, if not before, to go through how well we did or didn't do, and so that's another way of reporting on them. But in between times, if any members want to talk to me about it, and some members do, come and talk to me about specific actions on there, how's it going, then I'm obviously an open door to that.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councillor Goodall next.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for a comprehensive report, Richard. On Tuesday, I was at the Growth Committee, and they reported back that East Cambs District Council had the lowest C+ rating in the combined authority, but it's still above the the UK average. It's at 66% roughly. Is there any plans where we could give grants to people to upgrade their housing to bring it up to a better standard? Obviously the new builds are already C+, it's just retrospective fitting.
Is this referring to EPC ratings? Is that what it's? Yeah. Are the grants available? Yes. I don't know whether I've touched on it in the cover report or not. My colleague Lisa Eves, our retrofit officer at the council, her entire role basically is talking to residents on what they can do. Now, if they are able to pay residents, i.e. they've got significant income extra, she encourages them what's the best measures that they can do, but obviously that's their own money. Whether people are more vulnerable or have less savings or low incomes or whatever, then she's very good at finding grants to help make that happen, and she received lots of very complimentary remarks about how she's been able to do that. So we do get grants. It's coordinated across Cambridgeshire. We definitely get our fair share of it because Lisa makes sure we do. And the problem is not the demand, it's just meeting that demand. We get lots of requests for the funding, but retrofitting a single house to do it properly, solar panels, battery, insulation, whatever it might be, an air source heat pump, to do can literally cost 20, 30, 40,000 pounds. So there's a limit, clearly, that what we, central government, can fund to enable that to happen. But certainly any resident, no matter their basis, wealth, background or whatever, if they want to talk to Lisa, she's very happy to do so and will encourage them down whatever route. And if that means she can find some money to help, she will. If she can't find the money, she'll certainly steer people in the right direction.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Hunt next.
Richard, we've all got mates who know everything, haven't we? And I have, and they say heat pumps, well, the ground ones are okay, but the air ones are useless. Don't get involved with those. What I'm concerned about is a little bit is that there's just an outside possibility that you may have got one or two things wrong. We may then be forcing actions on the residents of this area, and then somebody finds out that we've taken them all down the wrong route. My question is, have you given enough escape clauses if we get it wrong?
I'm not sure what we're escaping from.
You can answer that very quickly.
I think air source heat pumps is actually a really interesting one because for some people, for lots of households, simply sticking an air source heat pump in is the wrong answer. You've got to make sure your house is ready for an air source heat pump, and that means it's got to be insulated well, etc., etc. Don't just think, your gas boiler breaks down, I'll stick an air source heat pump and all will be well, because it won't be. It could end up actually costing you more money to run it. It might be slightly more environmentally friendly, but it might cost you more to do it. So you have to look at it as a full package. So there is a risk, I do think that's true, that there is a risk that people are potentially sold a product without being told of the wider, what the wider issues they need to do. I think solar panels is slightly different. If you've got a reasonable roof that faces south, you'd be hard-pressed to not get your money back fairly quickly from those, generally speaking. Air source heat pumps are slightly different. You need to know how to use them. You need to have a building that works and is effective with them. You've got to have the right radiators in. You've got to have the storage capacity, etc. So they're a bit more complicated before you take that leap. But we're certainly advising them appropriately, shall we say. We're certainly not saying selling them something that we think they might regret. We're giving them genuine advice.
Thank you for that answer, Richard. I'm certainly aware of one, not in East Cambridgeshire, where they've spent absolute fortune on heat, and it's totally the wrong solution. It's cost them a lot of money. Councillor Colbert.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm very pleased to hear about your bee orchids, by the way. I was just curious about the Snowberry and Honesty at Carter's Pit, Burwell. Are they actually a nuisance? To be honest, it hadn't occurred to me that Honesty wasn't a native species. Are these things that the Victorians brought back from somewhere and planted?
Typically they're escapees from gardens, and in themselves they're not necessarily harmful or poisonous or whatever, but it typically just
Yeah, okay, well, I'm just inclined, I know where you're coming from, because I can't remember the last time I saw Stars of Bethlehem or Totty Grass. So, I do fully appreciate the point. I'm just a bit inclined to think it's a bit of a shame to eradicate things just because they haven't been here for 500 years. That's all I took,
It's about balance, isn't it? If
Yeah.
you think it's going to cause wider harm, then you ought to do something about it.
Hmm.
That's the attitude we like. If it's not going to cause harm, we will do something.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. I think that brings us to the end of questions, and on a hot day like today, we've given Richard a bit of a grilling. But we have got a recommendation on the...
A roasting?
Or roasting, yes. We're being asked to approve the plan and the monitoring report. Do I have a proposer to take? Councillor Bailey and seconder Councillor Huffer. Members, is there any debate? Do you want to say anything as the proposer, Councillor Bailey?
Proposing it, if I may, Chair. Thank you. I always sit down and look forward very much to reading this report, because although, it feels like doom and gloom across the entire planet, because, we see every year the catastrophic nature of things that are changing very rapidly before our eyes, it doesn't stop us doing what we can. And I always sit down and feel a whole lot better when I read this report, because although we're small, and you're a very small team, but you're doing a huge amount of work and a huge amount of good, and you've got other people excited and engaged, and they're all doing it as well. And that is what you set out to do when we started on this journey, Richard. And I want to say a huge thank you for that, because I always feel very optimistic when I read this report, and I love some of the detail. I just think it's brilliant, some of the things that we're doing. And I had a real good delve through the habitat management plans. They're brilliant. They're such a good description of our open spaces, and the detail and the opportunities that exist within them. And I think, if everybody across our country was managing their spaces in that way, it would be amazing. And the focus at the Bereavement Centre, for example, on the right species for our native habitat is absolutely brilliant. I love it. It's very inspiring, really. There's been some brilliant wins, and I do want to give it up, really, for East Cambs Trading Company, Palace Green Homes, because they have achieved Energy Performance Certificate A on the homes. Well, 24 of them, I think, so far, but presumably the last 3 will get it too, because they're doing the same things. All the affordable homes up there are going to be rated EPC A, which is really difficult to achieve. It's not easy, and they have put PVs on, and they've done air source heat pumps and electric vehicle charging points and all the rest of it to get there. And I think it's a huge well done to them, and it shows the developers out there that you can do it, and it is possible, and you should strive for it. And I think they've done really well to do that. I think I want to say that we are full square behind this. Whatever anybody out there is saying, we absolutely support the direction of travel in this authority and what we're doing, and trying to do our bit towards net zero. We absolutely do. And I love our emphasis on the natural habitat as well, and I think that does engage people a lot, because I think that is where it touches a raw nerve, because that's where people see it first. And when people see species dying out in front of our eyes, I think it's just tragic, and it's very emotional and emotive, and I think it does make people think. I think our current focus on waste, I don't know about anybody else in our district who are busy focusing on waste. We are all very focused on waste because we've got our new waste collection service, and it is making people really think about what they do with their waste and where they put it. And I'm constantly saying to everybody that I can, before you put something in your black bin, really think about it, because it's going to be buried in the ground, which is so horrible and so unsustainable. So just think about whether there's something better that you can do with it. Keep looking things up on the recycling list of what you can recycle, because so much more now can go into the blue bin, and it's so much better. So You know, we always said there's big things that you can do, but there's a million little things that you can do as well. And you've always had a brilliant array of both of those things, Richard, you and your team. So thank you ever so much for your continued enthusiasm and your creativity on this subject, and the way that you write your reports, because I just find them very engaging and easy to read, and that's exactly what they should be, because that gets people excited and interested. So thank you very much, and I'm, you know, very pleased about the past actions. Yeah, we haven't hit them all. We keep working on the ones we haven't. Sometimes it's out of our control, and a brilliant set of new actions. And I very much encourage people to go away and have a delve into the habitat management plans, because they're really, really good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. I've got Councillor Christine Whelan.
Yeah, on the back of that, I completely agree with that. I like the thought of in the King's Avenue, looking at the King's Avenue one with the hedgehog habitats. I know that we have a hedgehog visit our front path most evening, or most during the night, because we capture it on our ring doorbell. It sets it off. So it's really good to see that the whole area is being developed for that sort of habitat and the wildlife and everything, and I think it's good to see.
Okay, thank you. Members, any other comments? As the seconder, do you want to say something,
Yeah,
Councillor?
just a few words, is that last summer we discovered we had a visiting frog who was coming to our dog's paddling pool. So we, with very little expense, put a big bucket, washed some rocks and things and put it in there, buried it in one of the flower beds. I think our latest count earlier this spring, we had 7 frogs who now are in there. They don't stay, I think they go away and they come back. But I can tell you, I have got a lot less slugs now than I did this time last year, because apparently it's one of their favourite things. So if we had any kids, small children, they would love it, because you never know when they're going to turn up. I was watering last night, and this little frog suddenly popped up out of the flower bed, and I thought, oh, gotcha. So yeah, people can do small things that would really engage the children and attract wildlife that you wouldn't otherwise see into your garden at very little expense, and it's great fun. And I did hear, so these bee orchids are in Fordham. Where else would they be? So no, I'm happy to second this, Chair. I think it's a wonderful agenda paper.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Huffer. I'm sensing we could be unanimous on this, that members, all those in favour of the, to approve the Climate and Nature Action Plan and Monitoring Report 2026. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. And thank you, Richard, for your very comprehensive report. Thank you. Item 7 is the assets update. And we've got Spencer Clark. He'd hidden himself. I couldn't see him at one stage. He'd obviously hidden himself behind Richard. Over to you, Spencer.
Is that better? I don't like shouting. Right, as I said, after that positive, we'll bring it back down to earth a little bit negative, this update of mine this time. Even with the positive news of the lift finally having a date for repair, it's taken far too long, far too long. 6th of July is the start date for the works. It's going to take at least 3 weeks to complete as well. And that's virtually stripping everything out and replacing all the major parts, all the doors, everything. So it's good news in a way, but it has taken far too long. So I do apologise on that. Second bit of disappointing is the difficult decision to delay the starts of the cloisters refurbishment works. At the time we finished the tender process, which was well received by lots of contractors, which took a lot longer to go through the whole process to whittle down to our final contractor. It was too late to start then. We're getting in such a busy time. Some started early this year. It would be totally wrong to shut them now, to keep them shut for well over a month, even though we were going to try and keep them kind of half open, well, not even half open, but try and keep them in some kind of service. So difficult call to make, although I do believe it's the right one. And then finally, it's sad to see any tenant leave our properties, but especially on this occasion with 70 Market Street, they're an amazing group of people there. They have handed their notice in to quit the property, which is a real shame. And if I may, Chair, I'd like to formally thank them for looking after our property while they've been in there, and we've worked closely together. So it's quite a sad end. Apologise for the downbeat report, but I'm happy to try and take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Spencer, for that. Members, any questions? I've got Councillor Akinwale and then Councillor Goodall.
Thank you, Chair. Are there any cost impacts on delayed works?
No, there's no extra costs at all. It's just we're moving the whole programme of work just slightly down, and we'll be starting in September.
Thank you. And just note that obviously thank you to you and your team for your work on the inclusive play. Looking forward to the audit in September. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Akinwale. I've got Councillor Goodall next.
Thank you, Chair. Spencer, have we thought about opening up the toilets in Newnham Street car park while the cloisters are being refurbished as temporary bases? And also, I'm on the Paradise Centre, and they get a lot of people going in to use their toilets from there and not treating them with the respect they should do, like the members of the gymnasium do, and he's having lots of time cleaning them up.
Newnham Street's been repurposed over quite a period of time now, used for storage, for various other things. It'd be quite difficult to turn them around, but we do have a plan to utilise the family room, and obviously if we shut the female side down, we'll keep the men's open and vice versa, and try and sort of balance out the usage and keep it as minimal disruption. But it's a difficult one, whether we try and shut more down and just get it done quickly, or take longer trying to keep bits of it open more. So it's a hard decision, but we'll work it through together and try and balance it on the busier days and the quieter days as well.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councillor Trapp next.
Just intrigued by what was missed, page 39, Appendix 1, the first page. It said something about the second comment down on the right-hand column, reflective of the extent of the work that is needed to be vacant.
That's St Mary's Church. That's with the wall, because they're all historic walls there, and they're all lime mortar. So we always get like a budget cost come in from the specialist contractors, and once we start taking the wall down, we're never quite sure how far we've got to go. And then in this case, we actually didn't have to go quite as far as what we feared, although since then we have that in another place, but that's for another story, another day.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Christine Whelan next.
Yeah, just on the cloisters refurbishment, you said that it was starting in September, is that correct? Or programmed for September?
That's now programmed in.
My sort of thing off that was saying that you're going to shut one section down and then open one section. So what's going to happen? I mean, one family toilet is not sufficient for the place, really. So have you thought of any other ways of accommodating that?
Yes, we've worked through, obviously, there'll be lots of comms go out and notifications of where other places can go. We've looked at the possibility of bringing perhaps in some portaloos, but because we don't own the land outside the cloisters toilet, that restricts us a lot. But it's whether when we get the area opened up and the site works, we might be able to squeeze something in. It's not far from perfect, and it's going to be disrupting to everybody, but obviously they're quite important loos to.
More question. On a different note, it says the Williams Close street lighting, the solar lights. Is that the section between where the new build is through to St Williams Close? What area is that exactly where you're putting the solar lights, please?
Yeah, so that is replaced. There's already street lights in place. They've had new columns put in, and it was found the cabling went in but there's a break in the cabling between the first one or the last one, and that one's going to have a solar light on, so to dig up the road to put the new cable in. So 3 out of the 4 will be on mains power, and 1 at the end will be on solar. Just one. It says solar in the notes, but it should be solar, not solar.
Oh, right, so it's just the one,
Yeah.
one light. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's the end of... Councillor Hunt, as the asset champion, do you wish to say? Okay. Any other comments, members? No, it's just for noting. So we've duly noted it. Thank you, Spencer. Item 8 is the local infrastructure funding request, and I've got Lucy Flinton to introduce it.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, councillors. I'm here today to present the Viva Arts and Community Group Theatre application for SIL funding under the new local infrastructure scheme. As detailed in the report, the scheme is for the expansion of the existing facility to enable a larger youth participation and enhanced inclusive welfare and safeguarding areas. The project has received support from various stakeholders and relevant organisations, and a public consultation evidenced the local support. It is envisaged that the work will begin early next year and will be part funded by monies from fundraising events and group reserves. The project has successfully achieved the appropriate points against the scoring matrix in line with the scheme's governance arrangements, and therefore is recommended for approval of allocation of £100,000 of SIL receipts. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. Members, any questions? Councillor Akamwali.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's a brilliant thing that the council is doing to support these community facilities, especially those who are obviously helping young people. I'm just out of curiosity, do you have statistics in terms of how many young people will benefit from this project?
So in the application, I believe, I have brought it with me, so there are 63 young people that are being, that are on the waiting list currently.
Thank you.
Members, any other? I mean, I will say, in comment to Councillor Akamwali's question, and when I was chairman of the council, I went to the official opening of Viva when Prince Edward, Duke of Edinburgh, came, and the number of young people who were there, it was really inspiring to see all of them getting up and doing dramatic arts, and it's a wonderful thing for youngsters to express themselves and whatever, so it's certainly a very admirable scheme. We're being asked to approve the allocation of up to £100,000 from the Community Infrastructure Levy funding to the Viva Arts and Community Group Theatre Expansion Project. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Bailey? Councillor Huffer?
Happy to second, Chair.
Do you wish to say anything?
Just briefly,
Councillor
thank
Bailey?
you. Viva were quick off the mark with the local infrastructure funding. Congratulations to them. They are brilliant fundraisers, I have to say. And I remember when we first supported what felt like an enormously ambitious idea to buy and convert the old mill in Soham, but they turned it around unbelievably quickly, and it's a fantastic facility. And then we supported them with money to support like an apprenticeship hub there as well. So, I mean, it just does so much more than it sort of says on the tin. So I'm absolutely delighted to propose this to the committee, and pleased that we're getting this money out there and doing such good things with it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bailey. Members, any other comments before? Okay, in which case I'll go to Councillor Huffey if you want to make anything.
I have nothing to say, but much to say in addition to Councillor Bailey's comments, except that it's not just children in Soham, it's children in Fordham and Isleham who all participate certainly in the events that go on through the year, and they love it. They absolutely love it. So I'm very happy to be able to support this.
I mean, to add to that, I know people from my ward in Wood Ditton down in the south actually attend the Viva Arts. So, you know, it's not just a Soham-based thing, it's across most of our district. Okay, we're being asked to approve the allocation of up to £100,000 community infrastructure levy funding to the Viva Arts and Community Group Theatre Expansion Project. Members, I'm sensing we could be unanimous here. All those in favour of that? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lucy. Item 9 is planning charges, and I've got David Moran to introduce the paper. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. So the paper you have in front of you is for the introduction of a new charge to be added to the Planning Department's fee sheet. Some members will be aware that this has come previously in front of the committee, and my aim today is to try and clarify exactly what this charge is intended to do and to try and answer any questions you might have with it. So firstly, should we clarify that this is not a new charge for work which was previously done for free. This is a lower reduced charge which is...
Sorry.
That's okay, no problem, Chair. So this is a lower reduced charge which covers purely questions or similar relating to questions in regards to whether someone needs planning permission to undertake specific works on a specific property. So the need for such a change has become apparent to officers since the County Council has introduced the requirement to have a formal letter or certificate ahead of them being willing to agree to dropped curbs. So when a resident applies for a dropped curb, they either require us to, or the resident, sorry, to have a certificate of lawful development, which, as members all know, is quite a complex legal thing, which requires a member of the public to draw up plans, to have documents, to fill in forms, and has quite a high charge to it. Or to have a letter from ourselves, which at the moment, the only way we're able to do that is through using our pre-application advice service. And the charge of that for our pre-application advice service is £160.95. So the aim here is to have a new charge, which is based at £75, which is in line with our sort of charging across the board with regards to hourly rates in this, that and the other, to create a simpler route to get these questions answered at a more commensurate cost to our residents while still covering officer time. It should also be noted there is no intention of changing customer service offering, and when queries can be dealt with immediately in seconds, this will still continue to take place. This charge is purely to enable residents to have more certainty before carrying out developments of their homes before work begins, and also if they're required to provide evidence, for example, to the County Council, and they're able to do so. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dave, for that. Members, any questions? Councillor Akinwale.
Thank you, Chair. How will residents know that this is informal advice and this is not a legal certificate they were going to receive from the advice?
So what we would do is, first of all, that will be clear on our charging schedule, but also when we provide a letter, what we will say on it. And it's the same thing we say on any pre-app or most of the letters that we give out. It'll say, this is the advice of an officer. Should you require a formal legal determination, then you will need to make a certificate of lawful development. However, for the purposes that 99% of people are going to want this information for, I think this cheaper route is a benefit to our residents, but we will make it clear on it exactly what it is and what legal weight they can give to it.
Thank you. And what's the response time for this informal advice?
Usually it will be in line with our pre-application advice, but I would honestly say if it takes more than a week to go back to somebody on something like this, I'll be very disappointed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? No, in which case we're being asked to note the report, but also to authorise the changes in the fee structure. Do I have a proposer for that, which is me? I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my sheet of paper. Yes, I'm happy to propose that.
Happy to second, Chair.
Okay. I mean, I've got no... I mean, I've discussed this through with David, and I understand what we're trying to achieve, and hopefully it will actually be a cost-effective route for residents. So, does anybody else want to make a comment on that? In which case, we'll go to the vote. So, members, all those in favour, that is unanimous again. Thank you very much. Thank you, David. Item 10 is the Bereavement Centre project progress update, and I've got Lucy going to introduce it. I know Isabel's here, but you're obviously going to...
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So in addition to the detail contained in the report, I'll give a brief update of the budget, the risks, and the cremator delivery and the programmed works. So the project is still within programme and budget. We do have risks that we are monitoring, which are namely the Section 278 works to the main entrance, permits and internet connection as the main ones. These have all been budgeted, and we currently have circa £120,000 left in our contingency. This is based upon the latest cost plan, which was dated the 5th of June. So since publication of the report in front of you, I can confirm that the safe delivery of the cremator from the Netherlands happened on Tuesday this week. DFW will now be on site for several weeks for the installation, which will run concurrently with the completion of the remaining parts of the site. The landscape is progressing with the introduction of trees, shrubs and seeding throughout the site. The tribute terrace is nearing completion and the memorial garden is taking shape. Internally, all works are on target with the chapel flooring starting next week. And I have nothing more to add. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Lucy. Members, any questions? Councillor Christine Whelan.
Obviously, a lot of planting of trees and shrubs and things like that. Have you got a good maintenance programme to keep them going, bearing in mind the climate change and everything? I think it's important to make sure that they're well watered and looked after.
So while the contractor is still on site, it's their responsibility to maintain what has been put in the ground. But we do have a habitat management and maintenance plan which will cover the site for and the landscape maintenance as well. So we have got plans for every eventuality.
I've got Councillor Colbert next. Yeah.
Hi. I must admit I'm a bit confused, but most of my confusion lies in the next item. But the proposed pet memorial area, yeah, it includes horses, and I'm honestly not being in the slightest bit sarcastic about this, but I'm really unclear as to whether you're actually going to physically be able to bury horses, or if we're talking about cremating animals, which is where my confusion then goes on with the urns. Please can you explain to me exactly what's happening with things other than human?
I mean, that would be for Marissa to answer, but there will be no cremations of animals at our site.
Right. So the section that's talking about memorials, that is burying things as big as a horse.
Yeah.
This is just an oral update.
Oh, I'm sorry, am I?
Yeah, we're on
I'm so
item 10,
sorry,
which is,
I do
we can pick that up on
apologise.
the next one,
Yeah.
Christine, which Marissa will be able to answer, yeah. Councillor Miller.
Just a very quick question, because it's in my sort of wheelhouse. Are you able to elaborate on the potential risks associated with getting fibre to the building? I would have imagined that whoever is doing that work, bringing it to the boundary, would bring it all the rest of the way, because otherwise you end up having to have a junction box buried in the ground, which is subject, is a damage risk.
So all of the physical cable pulling from the main, from the site boundary to the comms room has been completed. It's about, because the council's contract for our fibre for all our buildings, we have to overlay with, so yes, the fibre, the physical fibre is there. It's now, we just need to wait for the overlay to happen, the reconfiguration of what is being put in.
I'll follow that up with you later, I think. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Members, any other questions, any other comments? No, this is just for noting, so I think we've due... Oh,
I just want to
Councillor
say,
Bailey,
I drove past it the other day and it was absolutely, I mean, it was buzzing. There were so many people all over everywhere, I couldn't believe it. There were just people working everywhere and I only drove past. But it was looking amazing because where all the buns have been put in and everything, and obviously everything's been turned over, there were just poppies everywhere and it was just looking phenomenal. I think it's going to be really beautiful.
Yeah, yes, I mean, a number of us members here went to look at it at the end of April, and it certainly, obviously, it was still a building site, but it certainly looked good. And if you want to see the Rogues Gallery picture of all of us in helmet, hats and yellow high-vis, then that's quite an interesting photo. Okay, well, thank you, Lucy. That was just for noting. Thank you, members. Item 11 is the Lakeview Bereavement Centre Memorial. I knew I was going to have problems with this. I said this last night. Memorialisation framework and fees and charges. And I've got Marissa Rogers-Jones to introduce the paper. Marissa.
Good afternoon, Chair. Thank you, and councillors. This report provides an update on the memorialisation, and I can say it, framework and associated fees and charges for the Lakeview Bereavement Centre. As you may recall, the overarching fees we approved in March, with the detail to follow once supply discussions and operational planning had progressed. The proposal before you today reflects that further work. The framework has been designed to complement the natural, sensitive setting of the site and offering a range of meaningful memorial options while preserving its environmental character. The fees have been benchmarked to ensure they are fair, competitive, and support full cost recovery. As you're all aware, we're offering a dedicated pet memorial area, recognising the growing demand for dignified pet remembrance and providing that emotional link to their pets. Carefully considered with the service of the grounds as well, and some pricing remains subject to final supply confirmation. However, we're seeking approval for the memorialisation fees and charges schedule and the pet memorial fees and the charges schedule, and delegated authority to make minor adjustments where required, ensuring flexibility ahead of the opening in September. Overall, these proposals will enable us to deliver a complete, balanced and sustainable bereavement service from the outset, and I'm happy to take any questions today.
Thank you, Marissa. I'll let Councillor Colbert come in first, and then I've got Councillor Akinwale.
Thank you. All I can say to that, Marissa, is good. I'm really sorry to be dim, but can you please explain to me exactly what I've got here? So, so there is facility to have animal burials, okay? And what are the scales of fees? Are they for urns? Are they in relation to urns that are buried? Sorry, are you actually going to be cremating the animals is the first question. And if you are these the fees to put the remains in to then bury, or for people to take away, because some of them don't read as if they're going to last very long, the urns. I was expecting to find metal urns with screw tops or lids and things. Can you just enlighten me somewhat, please?
Of course, yeah. I think there's two parts to that question. So the first one is, no, we don't do cremations on site for pets. That's a completely separate crematoria. So we will only be conducting human cremations on site, just to be clear. Second point to your question is that we will be interring the ashes of pets as well as a full burial of the pet. So whether that would be a parrot, a cat, a dog, or a horse. And we have a designated area that's assigned for that capacity.
For both? Yeah, okay, thank you. Right. I'm still slightly confused, but I'll just sort of quietly sit here for a minute.
That's fine.
Okay, if you want to come back, I'll let you come back, but Councillor Akinwale.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to find out how pet burials will be managed safely and legally.
Thank you for that question. So there is a regulation in place that you do have to file a permit to carry out pet interments. That's something that's ongoing at the moment. So that's the legal element to it. There are strict guidance where you can bury a pet in terms of water courses, that being 250 metres away from any water course, i.e. a borehole, sorry, I'll just clarify a borehole, 10 metres away from the lake and a natural spring. So they're the legal requirements. The other side of it is ensuring that there is a 0.5 metre soil base below the carcass of the burial, as well as a 0.5 metre soil base above the carcass. And the reason that we have a full 1 metre at the topsoil is to stop other animals from digging up the burial. So they're the legal sides of pet interment.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got Councillor Trapp first, then I'll let you come back, Councillor Colbert. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very specific about the dog sizes, but not so much about the equestrian side. Ponies, large horse, what about normal horse? I mean, and it might be better to specify it in terms of hands, which is the normal measurement of horses.
I can take that on board and give that some consideration for the next meeting.
Okay, and another question is, at this list here, it says interment fee, price and application. I thought we'd gone, what kind of interment fee is that? I mean, we've already done all the dogs and cats and other things.
So the interment fee that we've done in March was based on full human burials. The interment fee for pets is a very different scenario because most pets are dealt by hand.
Yeah. Okay, but no, sorry, at the bottom of the list that you have here, it just says interment fee.
Yes.
Price and application, but I thought we'd gone through all the dogs and cats and the above.
So the price of above is for the price of the actual burial plot, the actual hole itself.
Right.
The price of the interment is a separate price altogether. That's out of my control. That's to do with open spaces and who we appoint in to do the grave digging.
Thank you very much. So that's a very
specific. It's very separate. Hence, the reason we put price on application, because it's very separate, and we explain that to the consumer.
Thank you very much.
I've got Councillor Colbert next. Yeah.
Okay, so the simple answer is to clarify this. So the top bit should actually read pet plot interment, pet plot fee, shouldn't it? Rather than pet interment fee. That was what caused me so much confusion. Yeah, and you too, obviously. Thank you.
It's absolutely fine. We can include that in there to give some clarification if that would help.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Hopefully that. I've got Councillor Huffer next, then Councillor Bailey.
Just very briefly, a pony becomes a horse at 14.2. Just a fact.
42 hands.
He becomes a horse at 14.2 hands.
All right, well,
Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I must confess, I shared exactly the same confusion, so it clearly is a thing. So I think it's just a matter of the heading, isn't it, saying pet plot fee, and then the interment fee is dependent on the animal, isn't it, basically? So I think that would clear that up. I have a similar slight confusion in terms of the difference between wooden memorial plaques and sponsored plaques with a 10-year lease, and not quite understanding the difference between those, and it may be a thing about the headings again. So I can buy an oak post and plaque from the premium range for £305, and that gets me the plaque, presumably. But then it says sponsored plaque, 10-year lease, including the engraving, oak small, £95. I'm not really understanding the difference between those different items under the different headings.
It's quite standard across crematorias and burial parks to separate it in that way of wording. However, we will have a brochure that will illustrate what the plaques and the memorial posts are like, with a description. So when we're with the family at the time of purchase, we will be explaining the detail. Now, just to come back to your question, that was just to give you a bit of clarity. The memorial plaques are plaques that go on benches or on, for example, an obelisk. So they're much smaller in size. They're not for a marker in the ground. They go on a bench or on a obelisk, and they're just a short, small inscription, varying in sizes. It's more affordable for families that don't potentially want to buy
Is that the sponsored
a memorial
plaques? Well,
no, a sponsored plaque is just a plaque which we will fix to a bench. So you can have 6 plaques to a bench. A memorial plaque and post is what goes with the interment of ashes. So that's a tall post with a face on it, with an inscription.
I think once we see the pictures,
I
it'll all be easy, won't it?
It's hard to explain. On a price list, you
totally
don't
understood it now.
You don't
totally
tend to put too
understood
much detail on there. We tend to illustrate it with diagrams and an inscription.
And is there a time limit on the wooden memorial plaques on a post where you put your ashes? No. Okay. Lovely. Thank you. I've understood it now.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Colbert again. Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry. Okay, can I go back to the urns, please? Because so these are urns that either will be buried in the ground by these descriptions, or are we not providing any sort of other urns? It's not beyond the realms of possibility. People might want to take Auntie Ethel away and put her on the mantelpiece, and they'll want something nice to keep her in rather than just get her in a box. Yeah?
Thank you. It's our intention to support the family however they need to with their interment of ashes. So that may come in their own family heirloom box. One thing we are trying to maintain is it to be kind to the environment and very sensitive. So obviously we wouldn't want to encourage lead-lined caskets, but certainly if it's biodegradable, made of wood, and they've brought it in with them, we would absolutely be encouraging that. The items that you see on the price list are just a short few items at this moment that we've identified through our supplier research and our market research.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is that, you want a question? Yeah. Okay, David. Councillor Miller.
I don't recall the details of the interment of ashes, but the fact that you just mentioned it partly confirms my question. Something came up since the last FNA meeting which led me to wonder, will it be possible, would Lakeview be willing to inter ashes or partial ashes of a person who wasn't cremated at the facility?
Absolutely. We want to encourage everyone, all the community, to come along and feel supported by the bereavement centre.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I've got Councillor Bailey.
Sorry, it's another pet question that I meant to ask before and forgot. So those are the burial plots, but what about if someone is wanting to just bury the ashes? Is that a different price list? Where is the price list?
No different price, because the ashes will tend to come in the same size box provided by the crematoria, or whether they've purchased the box themselves.
But if I'm burying a large horse, I need a very large hole. If I'm burying ashes of a large horse, I need a much smaller hole.
It's quite interesting. I've done several horse interments in the past, all of which have come in the same size coffin as a full-grown horse. So we've had up to the size of a human interment as an ashes interment of a horse.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've had the same shoring that we've had to use for...
So it's like burying a human coffin almost. It's so big.
Absolutely.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So it's the plot is regardless of whether it's ashes or burial.
Yes.
I think it might help, presumably that will be clear in the brochure.
It will be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you for those. I think that's all of the questions. Going on to the recommendations, we're being asked to approve the memorialisation fees, and I said that properly this time, and charges. Do I have a proposer for that? I've got Councillor Huffer and a seconder.
Happy to second.
Councillor Miller. Did you want to say anything, Councillor Huffer?
No, I when my horse, we sadly lost my horse, I think it was many years ago, we had the cremation done out towards Royston. I think there is a pet crematoria there. And I have to say, I've still got her ashes, and when the time comes, I'd like her to go to Lakeview if I can ever do it, because I still look at it even now. Anyway, so no, I think this is wonderful. I think it's lovely that because animals are so part of the family. They're so part of the family. I mean, losing any loved one is awful, but losing a loved pet is nearly as bad for me. So to have them a lovely, dignified place, a beautiful place where you can go and remember them is just lovely. So I'm happy to propose this, Chair.
Thank you for that. Members, any comments on this before? In which case, I'll go to Councillor Miller. Did you want, as a seconder, do you want to make any comments?
Not really. I mean, in terms of the fees charged, I'm not exactly in a position to form an opinion about them one way or the other. It's lovely to see that almost every possible thing has been thought of, and I look forward to the opening of the centre in a few months.
Okay. Any other final comments from you?
No? Absolutely none.
In which case, we go to the vote, and we're being asked to approve the Lakeview Bereavement Centre memorialisation fees and charges for 26-27, as in Appendix 1, to approve the Bereavement Centre pet memorial fees and charges 26-27 as in detailed in Appendix 2, and then give delegated authority to the crematorium and bereavement centre service manager, in consultation with the Director of Operations to make minor operational and supply-led pricing adjustments to the memorialisation and pet memorial pricing schedule where required. All those in favour of that? Again, that is unanimous. Thank you. And thank you, Marissa, for the presentation. Item 12 is the business grant scheme, and I believe I've got Rory Thompson, who's going to present the paper. Welcome, Rory.
Thank you, Chair. I'm asking members to approve the proposed business grant scheme as set out in Appendix 1. This scheme will utilise the remaining balance of £18,980 carried forward from the 2024-25 Capital Growth Fund, with this new proposed scheme designed to support small-scale capital projects that help local businesses to grow. The scheme will offer grants ranging from £500 up to £2,500, with the council able to contribute up to 75% of total project costs. The scheme is targeted at smaller businesses within the district with a turnover of below 250,000, and charities may also apply where they operate through a trading arm. As mentioned, funding is strictly limited for capital expenditure such as equipment, machinery, tools and IT hardware. It excludes revenue expenditures such as salaries, rent, overheads or stock. Applications will be assessed by the Economic Development Team against the scheme's eligibility and quality criteria, and grants will be awarded on a rolling first-come, first-served basis, subject to budget availability and meeting the required quality standards. Subject to approval, the scheme is proposed to open on the 6th of July 2026 and will close once funding is fully allocated. All projects must be completed and claims paid by the 31st of January 2027. Full details of eligibility, eligible expenditure, the application process, the assessment framework and monitoring requirements are set out in Appendix 1. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Rory. Councillor Akinwale, then Councillor Colbert.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to ask, why is this not being scored after a closing date? Why is it a first come, first served basis? And that being, because I'm just looking at small businesses who may not hear about the opportunity on time.
Microphone,
yeah, I understand that point fully. When it comes to kind of communicating this grant scheme, I do believe we have quite an effective method of getting the word out there. So we do have a business mailing list with 2,000 contacts within the district. We also are working increasingly closely now with the Federation of Small Businesses, and their main demographic are those types of small businesses, sole traders, micro businesses, and people looking to, to start their own business. So through this grant scheme, we think we should be able to reach our target demographic. And also with the first come, first serve rolling basis, it means we can get the ball rolling on a lot of these projects and start making a difference early. So, but I do understand your point in terms of kind of leaving the grant scheme open for a wider period of time and allowing more applications to come in.
Thank you.
Councillor Colbert.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Forgive me, I'm subbing, so I haven't had a chance to study this closely. Can I just ask you as an example, if I was a small business with a shop, could I apply for secondary glazing?
Typically, when it comes to capital expenditure, I mean, I might have to double clarify that with yourself. Usually when it comes to building renovations, we wouldn't typically accept that. I don't believe. Usually it'd have to be kind of a larger scale kind of building extension or something like that to kind of qualify under capital. Usually it would come to, for this type of grant scheme, something like tools or machinery or equipment related to that type of small-scale capital expenditure.
Okay, the reason I asked the question was because I was thinking back on the agenda. We're talking about reducing use of fuel, etc., and presumably if I had secondary glazing to my non-existent shop front, I would be losing less heat and therefore using less fuel to keep my premises warm. But okay, thank you very much. You've answered the question.
Welcome to Councillor Alison Whelan. You probably gathered we're on item 12. Yeah. Members, any other questions? No. I'm happy to propose this from the chair.
Happy to second, Chair.
And members, I'll make initial comments on this. This is, as the paper says, this is using up money we've got from the Capital Growth Fund from 24-25, and as Rory quite rightly points out, we've got to spend this money by January next year. So there is a relatively short turnaround, and hopefully it will help some of the smaller businesses who may not be able to get some sort of funding from elsewhere. So I'm quite pleased. It's a relatively small amount of money. It's only 18,000 odd in the budget, but any comments from anybody on that? Councillor Alison Whelan, yeah.
Sorry, apologies for my lateness, but getting back over from Alconbury takes a bit of time these days. I'm assuming from all of this, from what I could actually read, this is effectively extending what was the existing scheme to use up the remaining money that was in there. So it just seems logical to me. Yeah. We previously agreed it seems logical for me that we just continue so that the money gets used.
That it's using up money which hopefully will help some small businesses in their thing. So, Councillor, no other comments. Councillor Huffer, did you want to?
Nothing else to add, Chair.
In which case, we move to the vote, and we're being asked to approve the proposed business grant scheme as was detailed in Appendix 1, to agree that the business grant scheme will open on the 6th of July 2026, with all projects to be completed by the 31st of January 2027, and agree that when the funding is fully utilised, the Council reserves the right to close the scheme to any further applications. So, members, all of those in favour of that? That again is unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rory, for the presentation.
Well done, Rory.
Very good. Very impressive.
He was very impressive, yeah. Item 13 is the Growth and Infrastructure Fund update. I think Sally is going to introduce this.
Thank you, Chair. This paper is just for noting. It's to make members aware of an underspend in the Growth and Infrastructure fund, which, as some of you are aware, needs to be spent by May 2027. It's just to reassure members that officers are looking into this and that I will bring a paper outlining our proposals for spending this money to the September meeting.
Sally, as Sally said, this is purely for noting, but there will be a paper coming in September, which we'll then need a vote on. Any questions, members? No. Oh, Councillor Goodall.
Just out of curiosity, if we don't spend it, what happens to it?
It has to go back to Cambridgeshire Horizons because it's money that we originally obtained from Cambridgeshire Horizons.
We'll spend it.
That would be a rather difficult path if it has to go back to Cambridgeshire Horizons. But yes, as I say, it's purely for noting this, but I'm sure there'll be more comments in September when we bring a full paper with proposals. So duly noted. Thank you, Sally. Item 14 is the finance report. And again, this is just for noting, but over to Jude.
Thank you, Chair. This report presents the Council's final outturn position for financial year 25-26. For Finance and Asset Committee, the year-end underspend is 1.332 million against an approved budget of 7.969 million. The Council's capital expenditure for the same period is 12.519 million, resulting in an underspend of 4.449 million against the revised budget. The overall revenue outturn position for the Council is 3.049 million underspent. This has been transferred to surplus saving reserve to support the MTFS. The detailed breakdown is shown in Appendix 1, 2, and 3 of this report. Happy to take any questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Jude. Members, any questions? Councillor Alison Whelan.
Thank you, Chair. Just one point, really. This isn't really significantly different to the last forecast that was brought to us, is it?
That's correct.
Okay, in which case, really, we've rehearsed a lot of the discussions in previous meetings, so there's no point in rehearsing them again.
Okay, thank you for that, yeah. Members, any other questions? No, I'm seeing nothing, in which case, as I said, this is purely for noting, so we've duly noted it. Item 15 is the 2025-26 Treasury Operations Annual Performance Review, and this is over to Jude again.
Thank you, Chair. This report presents Council Annual Treasury Management Review for 25-26 and confirms compliance with prudential codes. During the year, the Council continued to manage its Treasury activities prudently and operated within all approved Treasury limits and prudential indicators. At 31st March 2026, the Council held cash investment of 30.1 million and generated a total interest income of 1.84 million, exceeding the budget by 707,000. Members are asked to recommend this report to the full Council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Jude. As you say, we're being asked to recommend this to full Council. Any questions to Jude on this? No? Because it's a procedural thing, I'm happy to propose this from the Chair.
Happy to second, Chair.
So members, we're being asked to recommend this to full Council, which is in about 3 or 4 weeks' time. So all those in favour of recommending this to Council? That is unanimous, thank you. Item 16 is the annual report of representatives on outside bodies, and I think Jane is picking this up.
Yes, this is the usual reports. There is one that was circulated late today, which was my error. Sorry, Councillor Bailey, I missed that out. It also contains a updated list for the forthcoming year of representatives too. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Jane. Obviously, there are the reports in there, and members, any questions Councillor Colbert.
I haven't got a question. It's just that I did notice when I was flicking through that Caroline Shepherd's mentioned somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's all.
Whereabouts?
I can't remember.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
on-
One of the drainage
She's
boards.
one on one of the drainage. It was, out when we were looking at this a couple of days ago. She's on the Caudle Fen Internal Drainage Board.
We didn't know if she still was.
I mean, because there are, because some ex-district councillors have carried on as members of the drainage board, so
Yeah, well, they're appointed for the 4 years.
for the 4 years, so it could be that, I don't know, it could be that she still actually attends those drainage boards. That drainage board, I don't know.
But she shouldn't be as councillor either, though.
Councillor
That's
Christine Whelan, you want to?
Yeah, just on a point of like, there's obviously quite a few vacancies, and are we doing anything to try and encourage that?
I haven't been asked by anybody to do anything about them, so
Would it be worth putting out another email or something, encouraging people?
those vacancies wouldn't necessarily be for members. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if we've got vacancies, I'm happy we take something away before the next meeting to look at that, but as
I can send
Jane
an email
said,
round and find out.
Yeah, but sometimes, as Jane says, it's parish councillors can go on to those boards. But I think it's important if we can get the required membership. Councillor Bailey.
Just for members' information, in case they haven't read the fine detail of all of the outside bodies, I'm the representative on the East of England Local Government Association, and I just wanted to point out that they have rebranded, so they're now called Local Government East. So in case you see anything, that is what's happened there. If we could make sure next time round we get their heading updated, that'd be great. And similarly for the District Councils Network, which I have to say has been a phenomenal organisation supporting this authority over many years that I've been attending some of their meetings. They've rebranded in recognition of local government reorganisation and the fact that district councils won't exist anymore. They have also rebranded. They're now called the Local Councils Network, LCN, not DCN, but they are the same brilliant organisation.
They're the same, but in another name. Yeah. Okay. Members, any other comment? Oh, Councillor Alison Whelan.
Yeah, just to follow on in terms of obviously the IDBs, because we do have parish council members on there. It would be really good if we could write to the parish councils as well, encouraging them. And thank you for the explanation, Councillor Bailey, because I saw this LG and I thought, who on earth is this? Is this yet another spam email? And it would have been very easy for me just to have deleted it, but I did actually read the email instead and realise what had gone on.
Thank you for that. As I say, we're being asked to note, but we've been asked to approve any requested changes to representatives for the new municipal year. And as I said just now, we're happy to take away looking at the vacancies, and obviously if that's parish councillors, which I think is it's a vital role with the drainage boards. Sitting on the LGA special interest group, where we've got a meeting next week of all the various levy costs. It's a very important area, and also the potential amalgamation of some of these drainage boards.
I can email
Yeah.
the IDBs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Members, all those in favour of that we approve that. That again is unanimous. Thank you, members. Item 17 is the annual agenda plan. I know there's one addition, which I think Sally's going to mention now.
Yeah, so as mentioned previously, I'll bring a paper of proposals to spend their growth and infrastructure fund to the next meeting.
So as Sally says, obviously, as we voted on or noted just now, sorry, there will be a paper about spending the growth and infrastructure money in September. Any other comments on the forward plan? No, I'm seeing none. In which case, that brings us to the end of the public part of the meeting. And so we have the proposal that the press and public be excluded during the consideration of the remaining items because it is likely in view of the nature of the business to be transacted or the nature of the proceedings that if members of the public were present during the items, there would be disclosure to them of exempt information of categories 1 and 3 of Part 1, Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972. Do I have a proposer?
Happy to propose, Chair.
And seconder? Members, all those in favour? Thank you. That is carried, in which case that